All right, hello and welcome to the Elliot Omenson podcast with Nathaniel Vossman, keeping everything level-headed and intelligent as always.
Try my best.
Tries his best, keeps me in check, reins me in. Like, click, subscribe, all that nonsense. We're going to create an intro at some point that'll tell you to do that, so I don't have to always remember, but maybe it's good to just remember.
It'd be good to double down on it.
Yeah, we're also, in the infancy stages of this, right? And so, besides just our perspective and things that are going on, we're always talking about behind the scenes things we can do to kind of be unique and stand out. So, if there's anything that you guys have always wanted to see people do in a podcast, other than strip naked and stand on our head.
Yeah, we'll post that somewhere else, but
OnlyFans,
not on YouTube.
Not on YouTube. Yeah. So I did once post me doing naked snow angels. My kids were doing this swimsuit snow angel challenge, and my army buddies double dog dared me, and you know how that goes. Once that's dropped,
you have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
So we got a video of me butt naked from behind in a pair of snow boots going down the back steps off the porch.
I think I've ever seen that video, actually.
And the bad thing is, even though the camera was up 2 stories and a bit of a way, when I went face down into the snow, you did get a little bit of the gobbler. All right? You got a little bit of the gobbler. And I think I cranked out 3 snow angels. That was the end of that Facebook account. I have never got it back.
No wonder. Okay. Funny you mentioned that is that today I was trying to make a Facebook to go with the Instagram, and so I put since the name of the account will be the Elliot Omen Show. That's what we're going with. So I put your name in, blah blah blah, whatever. I put our work email, and then immediately once I hit create account, I got this screen where it says Elliot, or basically it said like you're banned. Oh. Like immediately, I just created this account, and then this is after I submitted an appeal, but
because my current Facebook account is blocked as well.
Yeah, and they're not letting you create another one.
I don't know what I did.
Maybe just the memories of your fucking gobbler, dude. Whatever you call it. But
oh geez,
but yeah, it did not let me. So I submitted an appeal. We'll see if it goes through, but. Don't expect to see us on Facebook anytime soon.
It's weird, man. We live in a totalitarian world of oligarchs. I think Bernie Sanders and AOC are onto something.
Yeah, they might be.
Yeah, I think I need to go on tour with them.
Yeah, I was just shouting out your glasses, Meta, earlier, and now
that's right.
I'm shaking my head at Meta. I'm like, I just want my freaking Facebook account.
Yeah, here I am repping your fucking glasses, and I can't even use your primary platform.
Yeah,
which is weird because they still let me use Instagram. So why do I get to use Instagram and I don't get to use Facebook?
Makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah. Now, while we're on this topic. The single greatest thing I ever did with my Facebook account. We had this pond to the left of our house, and it sloped up, and there was a tree line, and on the other side of the tree line was a field, and on the other side of the field was a row of homes. It was the backs of them, so it was all their fences, all these houses facing away, right? And I would take my dogs up there and let them run off leash because it's a big open field. And there was this family that had a black lab that would just come to the back fence and just bark incessantly, and they couldn't control it. All right, and their BBW wife would come out on her back porch and scream and yell at me and call the cops and just a bunch of nonsense. Right. So one beautiful Sabbath morning, I was before church, being the Christian man that I am, would go walk. I was running my dog, and she calls the cops on me and. From my dog's off the leash, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to fix this. So I go to church, as I'm wont to do, repent of the litany of sins that I incurred the previous week. And I come home, and I get a 20-foot lead and a lawn chair. And then I go live on Facebook. And I tell everybody what I'm doing, and I walk, take my dog, Murphy, up there. And then I literally just plant this chair behind their fence with Murphy on a 20-foot lead. And I just wait. And I got 12 minutes of the best footage you could ever imagine. So they send their daughter out. And they have a gate in the back of the fence. And she comes out and she's like yelling at me and calling me a peeping Tom. The chair's literally facing away from their home, right? Claiming I'm trying to look at her through a windows or some nonsense. And she's back from college and she wants to know why. Like, I can't let my dogs run everywhere in that field but behind their fence. I'm like, you do know how dogs work, right? Like, this is, you know, and I just walked her through some basic logic. Like, this is an empty field. The dogs play back here. I was like, what if it was kids playing soccer? You're going to come and yell at them because your dog is barking at them for being back here? Like at what point does your narcissistic view of the world that everybody has to conform to whatever you want? You have no responsibility to control your own barking dog, right? So their daughter starts crying. She's literally home from college. She's crying. And she's like, I can't believe people like you live in our neighborhood. I'm like, well, first off, I don't live in your neighborhood. I live in the nicer neighborhood over that direction. Then her dad comes out and her brother comes out. And her dad just had this look of a cuck. Like he was literally just, you could see it in his eyes. He's just, his BBW wife's up on the back deck screaming and yelling shit. And you can just tell he's like this battered, harangued, beaten down husband. And he's like pleading with me in his eyes.
He's like, please, man.
Yeah. He's
I
like,
can't get my wife to shut the fuck up.
I gotta go back. Yeah, I gotta go back in there and deal with that. Just give me a win, bro. Just like let me go. Take your dog and get. Yeah. And I just pointed things out. I'm like, do you notice my dog's not barking? Do you notice my dog when I say come, comes? Do you notice when I tell it to sit, it sits? And I go, all right, if you guys want, I said, I'll even pay for it. But I'll buy one of these collars and I'll come over and I'll teach you how to train your dog. And that's when they got super pissed, went back inside. And a buddy of mine in the army, from the army, he had the best comment, hundreds of comments. I mean, this is the best live stream I've ever done. And a buddy of mine from the army goes, man, you should have offered to train his wife.
That's what really needs training.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's not surprising Facebook doesn't let me on.
Yeah, you've lost your right to be on Facebook.
That's right. So anyways, on to more lighter topics, on to lighter, more nonsensical topics. What do we got? Topics. What do we got going on in the world today?
So I've got a few. I mean, there's always plenty going on, but a few things I thought we could discuss today.
The Navy V stack of stuff.
Yeah, I've got.
We need to make sure everybody knows that. This is the Elliot Omenson and Navy V show. I've decided you're now Navy V.
That's one hell of a name.
Yeah, I like it. If you're in the Army, that's what we would have pinned on you. Navy V.
Navy V. Wow. All right. Well, the Navy V stack stuff. So I got a little bit on immigration. So we got $1,000 stipend for people self-deporting.
Now, how many times can I self-deport and get $1,000? Because I'm thinking about making a career change.
We could probably do it a lot, but sadly now the border's a little harder to get back in through. So
dang it!
I'd imagine really you're shit out of luck after once. I got a little bit on the U.S.-China, kind of the effects on China that the tariffs are having.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And then a little bit on Canada and the United States. We had the newly elected Prime Minister Mark Carney come to the White House a couple days ago, or I think was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And so I got a little bit, those three big topics. I'm sure we'll come up with some other stuff, but anything in particular you liking to start?
Yeah, I think we should save the Canada deal for the last because I think that's wildly entertaining.
Okay.
And the other two were the $1,000 self-deportation, and what was the third?
China U.S. tariff.
Let's start with the deportation, $1,000 self-deport. Let's go to the China tariffs, and let's wrap it up with shitting all over Canada.
Right. We have our official.
And full disclosure, two of my very best friends are both Canadian, and one of them I'm dating. So
that sounds like the same thing we were saying back in 2020 when you said, two of my friends are black.
Yeah,
that's right. I got to.
You got to look over your shoulder. You got to do this thing. So did you see the thing with Canada?
Yeah. You know we're about to say some crazy stuff, but we got to preface it with we have Canadian friends.
I got Canadian friends. Don't shoot me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Nobody that likes Canada has a gun, anyways.
That's fair. So we're safe. We're chilling.
Yeah.
So this border security thing, U.S. immigration, I think that's pretty cool. And again, I think a lot of what Trump's doing on the borders is stuff that I fully support. And I think more than anything, Trump's biggest thing is I guess call it just like the platform that he's running on for immigration is just hardline stance on it, which is really causing, I don't know, the immigration problem not to be as big of an issue as it used to be. I mean, the numbers on it are quite good.
And his stance on it, like literally just his stance on it, shut it down.
Yeah.
Didn't it?
Yeah. Well, I would say 100% because a lot of the, I don't know, like a lot of the stuff that he's proposing really is still yet to take effect. Like he's trying to pass funding for better border wall, completing the border wall, stuff like that. But just the fact that he's like, that's his rhetoric.
Yeah.
It's pretty strong rhetoric.
Yeah. I mean, you got judges left and right. One just issued a ruling today or yesterday that he has to resettle 12,000 refugees. Like every judge that never gave a shit about due process on these people coming in, all of a sudden cares about due process on getting them out. So he's like, a lot of this, it really isn't having effect.
Yeah.
Judges overturning it left and right, and it's still shutting down the flow.
Yeah, 100%. And so I really appreciate a lot of what he's doing, and it's definitely working. The numbers 100% back it up, and it's pretty incredible. And we'll get into it because we're going to talk about this and then kind of talk about what Trump has done as a whole compared to Biden. But to start off, though, the Trump administration is offering $1,000. It's like $1,000 stipend to anybody who self-deports.
Yeah.
And they can do that with the newly made CBP Home app that used to be CBP One app that used to, bring.
Yeah, it used to be CBP Get Your Ass to America app. Now it's CBP Get Your Ass Home app.
So previously the app was used to bring people in.
Yeah.
And they argue that was legal, like through legal ports of entry.
Yeah.
And effectively it's not. In reality, a lot of those people are seeking asylum and they really don't have valid asylum claims. And then they're stuck in the country and they're in there multiple years. And then we've run into the issue that we have today.
Well, we've already talked about this previously. You have 71 immigration courts, about 700 judges. We have a current backlog of 4 million cases that'll take 8 to 12 years to go through. And then you create an app that allows people to make all these claims.
Yeah.
And just further keep coming in.
Yeah, I've got the number somewhere in here, but it's like close to 1 million people that they flew in through that app.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And again, they claim it as legal because they're coming in legally. Like it's not like they're crossing the border. I don't know. It's pretty wild. Yeah. So
real quick, I really should not have eaten fish and rice before this with braces.
Well, the good news is I just won't zoom in too much on your teeth.
I can't try to get this stuff out of my teeth. It's really difficult.
Just hide it behind the mic.
But it was delicious. Thank you, Mike. My personal chef.
But yeah, so now they're using that app to help people self-deport. I think up to now there's approximately 5,000 people who have used that app to deport themselves in 2025. And I think the app's really been live for only a month or two at this point. I think it was March of 2025.
How many have used it?
So 5,000. And there's been, and hopefully more, the app's been downloaded over 250,000 times since January 2025. Ooh. So we'll see. But basically, to get that $1,000, they have to they actually track it quite well, to be honest, despite what you might read online or what the media might say. Like you have to have like all your own data, all your own documents, and then you also have to like show like proof that it's yourself. So taking facial images, and then also uses your geolocation. So you got to be out of the country.
Well, yeah, and you don't get $1,000 until you're home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you got to get out of the country and then using your geolocation, then be taking a picture. So you have to be taking the picture outside the U.S. in your home country.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite good. And then you get the $1,000, and then with that, like all other expenses are covered. Like the U.S. will pay to get you out of the country. And there's a lot of benefits to this. I think there's an estimated 60-70% cost savings by doing so. So
of course, the media reports 17% cost savings.
No, much more.
Yeah.
And so the average like cost to deport someone who's not
Yeah.
self-deporting is around $17,000.
Well, it's got, and I don't even buy that because are they taking into account the cost of 8 years of court?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, yeah,
you're telling me they're going through the whole court process?
yeah. There's more
for
cost to it.
17 grand bullshit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to cost way more than 17.
Oh
grand.
yeah, well yeah. I think
17 grand's like just us picking them up and moving them there.
well exactly that. It's that, and but yeah, because then you got to think about all the staff that's being used,
Oh yeah,
equipment, all the above,
Yeah.
and then actually flying out of the
courtrooms,
country. Exactly.
the judges.
And so this is a good thing. You know, people on the left will argue this, saying that
Of course they will, because they'll argue anything.
it could mess with their asylum claims, or for example, Trump has gone out and said that if you self-deport, this will be your best chance to be able to down the road come into the country legally.
Yeah, which it should. That should be
then-
another incentive.
And then the MSNBCs
Self-deport, get $1,000, and we won't hold it against you when you try to come through the proper channels.
Yeah. And so, but the MSNBCs of the world will probably push the idea that Trump's lying. Trump's
Of course,
just making that up.
Yeah.
Another thing that goes along with this is that once you sign up to self-deport, it's not like you go the next day. Like you sign up, and then I'm sure there's time before you actually get on a flight.
Yeah.
But once you sign up, you're deprioritized for like them basically coming after you
Yeah, right?
and detaining you. So it's puts you at less risk of actually like
Yeah.
having an unwanted encounter with ICE.
Now, when they fly you out, are they just flying them all out on Spirit Airlines, or are they putting them on like an airline that might actually get there?
Probably gonna actually get there. Probably a pretty nice flight, to be honest. They probably get their little snacks and everything on there.
That's right, little pretzels.
So yeah, I think it's kind of a win-win for everybody, and it's not the first time a country's done this. I think I read that other countries like Australia in the past has done something similar. Interesting.
No, this reminds me. I had an idea when I was in the military for the ultimate border security. Don't even waste your time with the fence. Every mile along the border, you just put an ATM machine facing south. And then you just mail everybody south of the border a U.S. government debit card. And once a month, they can walk to the border, put it in, get their $1,000, and turn around and go home. You'd have the world's greatest border security.
Wouldn't be bad.
And it'd probably save a fortune.
Yeah, compared to what we spend right now, probably.
Right?
And so outside of this, Trump's,
Basically what they're doing, only just one time instead of every month.
yeah. So I'll take a one-time expense in that case. And so this kind of goes off of a lot of what Trump's doing. Like, he's reinstating the remain in Mexico. He had declared the border a national emergency, sent military down there. He's ended funding to sanctuary cities. He's doing this self-deportation, $1,000.
Yeah.
A whole lot of other things. What was that noise?
Oh, sorry. That was my Meta glasses.
I was gonna say I was hearing something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just a lot, and just other things that to me don't even make sense why we need to do it, like the Lincoln Riley Act. It just makes sure that people who are charged with theft or harming people are detained. So, but I think the biggest thing of all is just Trump's stance on immigration, how hardline he is, and even things that aren't really getting passed through are still just indicators of how strong he is on the border, like the ending of birthright citizenship. I'm a big fan of that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And whether or not that ever gets through, I think just the fact that we actually have a president who's pushing for that is a contributing factor.
And I do believe that we have the greatest shot of ending that we've ever had with this particular Supreme Court. They've already shown their willingness to overturn Roe versus Wade, right?
Yeah.
And the case that established birthright citizenship clearly went outside the scope of what the actual law was written for in regards to ensuring that slaves were considered to be citizens, and was then used to create this birthright citizenship bullshit that is an absolute disaster of a policy.
It definitely is a disaster. Like talking about if you want more border security, it's like, why don't you just take away the basic incentives that are drawing people in, and talk about one of them. I think that might be the biggest incentive possible. People trying to build a better life for their children, and on an emotional level, you get it, but you can't have that. You can't have those kind of massive incentives in place. So I agree 100% that just needs to end. Go ahead and let everybody who's taken advantage of it before, go ahead and let them keep it. But like going forward, let's go ahead and end that. Like there's no reason for that to still be in effect. So I'll be curious to see what happens. But I at least appreciate Trump for taking, in my opinion, what's a pretty common sense stance on it.
Yeah. Now, here, I got a question for you. All right. So, I'm actually gonna till I can figure out how to lower the volume
or just
when I get alerts. Yeah. So how much do you think his stance on immigration is viewed by the American people as his stance on crime and making America safer?
I'd say they're pretty proportionate, like as far as like the way people view that.
Yeah, right. Like I think it's pretty common. I think it's pretty understood, right? That, which I think goes back to the Lincoln Riley Act.
Yeah,
and so I was on the way earlier today. I was listening to them talk about, and actually I was listening to a station I rarely listen to, and that's Fox. Just because I love to be entertained. Yeah. So I'm usually listening to MSNBC or CNN. And they're talking about Trump's proposal to reopen Alcatraz. And they started to get into his poll numbers when it comes to crime and safety and everything. And so they mentioned that Joe Biden was 20 points underwater and Donald Trump's positive. And
I believe it. Yeah, definitely.
And so I really find this whole immigration argument to be really interesting because again, it's like, people hear me talk a lot about organizations, groups, or systems that are just inherently flawed, right? Communist nations, or dictatorships, Russia, China. Like I never worry about them because they're so inherently flawed. And the Democrat Party, in my mind, is also just wildly inherently flawed due to the fact it's just a coalition of groups that really don't like one another, don't get along, and are all competing and all at odds with each other to be the biggest victim or to get the most amount of rights or to whatever it is, right? And you just can't, it's just hard to form an effective coalition when you're just this, I kind of liken them to, the old timey carnivals, right? You got the bearded lady, you got the transgender person, you got the, it's just a collection of clown cars of all these different groups that are, the Palestinians, you got the trannies for Palestine. It's just some weird ass shit of like these groups trying to bind together to form one overall whole, and it just doesn't work, right? And so here they are trying to defend all these people, like the and I forget all their names already because it seems like every day there's another one. But the MS-13, the Maryland Dad,
Gilmore
right?
Garcia.
Yeah. Look at you. Yeah, it's like they latch onto these people and they're trying to defend these people. And it's like your party, your president was 20 points underwater. And your idea of an effective political strategy is to double down on this? I hate to say it, I almost missed the Democrat Party of Bill Clinton where when they got shellacked in the midterms over socialized health care, they dropped that shit like a hot potato and went back to the center. It's like, at least you understood you were dealing with people that had a little bit of pragmatism left.
Yeah.
They can employ a little bit of logic. And I just think this issue, out of all the issues that are on the table, well, I mean, not really. As I said, I think I'm lying. Because even like the waste, fraud, and abuse that like Doge is going after, it's like you even heard them over time start to shift their narrative where they realized they couldn't just keep screaming about it. They had to acknowledge that they were also for Wade Frost abuse. It's just not the way they're doing it, right? And so, and that wasn't the way it was in the beginning with that topic. First, it was just everything about Doge and Elon and trying to get the fraud. It's all bad. It's all wrong. It's all the wrong way. It's all the wrong methods, blah, blah, blah. And then you just watch this narrative shift to where it's like they realized they had to adapt. They had to give lip service to the overall concept while they tried to undermine and trash the way in which it was being done. With immigration, they haven't even gotten to that yet. I still don't hear that. There's still no. I haven't heard any like mea culpa, any kind of like acknowledgement that hey, you know, we might not want Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes, charging rent, beating people, and literally putting the apartment complex out of business because they destroyed it so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think their stance on it is just trying to highlight the good people and, you know, downplay the bad. And it's kind of dumb. It kind of plays into the same logic that, you know, they always hate when Trump talks about, you know, people come from mental institutions, insane asylums, prisons, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And
he did follow it up with, and I'm sure some of them are good people.
Well, yeah, but obviously, like, if you've been watching Trump for a while, like I'm watching The Apprentice, and like Trump is just Trump, but like that's how he's always been, and
always,
and so he's always selling something big, and obviously, like Trump doesn't actually think they're all coming from mental institutions,
no, of course not,
asylums, and so the same thing goes with like this, like they try to downplay the bad people, really
yeah. So Trump's planting his flag over here with the focusing on the bad ones in order to build a coalition and get people behind his immigration policies. So the Democrats are planting their flag over on, they're all beloved saints of the priesthood, and they're all Maryland dads, and they're all just downtrodden, poor, struggling, asylum seeking parents.
Yeah, exactly. And then
even when they're caught with 8 other people in their car, that they're in a vehicle that belongs to a known human trafficker.
Yeah. And so, and regardless of whether they're good people or not, like I'm still a fan of a fan of the concept that you can't just like ignore a law for any given period of time.
Yeah, we've been through your love of rules.
Yeah. So I think if you just like start completely ignoring laws, or you start letting all these people in and not like actually having some consequences, it's like you're in some kind of liberal dystopia, whether that's like with immigration, whether that's with crime and theft, or whether that's with anything. Like as soon as you start just like ignoring the law completely, like your world turns into a mess. Like California passing the rule about it's not being a felony if you steal up to a certain dollar amount.
Yeah, $900. As long as you weren't stealing up to $900,
which is ridiculous.
They're not arresting you.
And like I lived in California for a couple of years, and yeah, everything everywhere you go is locked up. Like here in Kansas, like only in the worst of the worst neighborhoods you go where like things were like actually all like locked up. In California, everywhere you go, everything's locked up. You can't like every bathroom you ever go to, you have to have a code to type in. Yeah, because there's so many homeless people, but the things are locked up because of theft.
Well, and have you ever seen the videos of the warehouses they find, the police? Because because this is what humans do with everything, right? The minute you create a rule, right? Like I'm not going to arrest you for anything under $900. What did you just explain to crime syndicates?
You just steal up to the dollar limit.
Yeah, recruit a bunch of people, let them know that here's the limit. Don't steal more than this. And you can do this. You just go from store to store to store to store.
Multiple stores in one day.
Yeah, and so they're actually, I've seen the videos where they find these black market shopping centers. Everything's literally brand new in the box, straight off the shelves of these stores.
Yeah.
And
no, you're right.
And then they're going to claim that it's racist or some shit that you shut your store down and moved out.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, what do you want us to do?
Yeah. And so, as someone who lived in Kansas my whole life, always heard about people like talking crap on a state like California. It is and was pretty interesting to actually live there myself. And of course, there's beautiful parts to it. I mean, California is a beautiful state, probably the most beautiful state in the country.
Oh, absolutely.
But pretty much everything that is said about California, I live in Southern California. Everything they say about California is very true. I never knew that places like this existed where such nice like neighborhoods, such high, like super high net worth people can live right next to like just huge
filth.
Homeless camps, which comes with the filth, comes with the crime, comes with the theft.
Oh, yeah.
And so everything that they say about California is true.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is
Do you remember
expensive.
the human feces tracker?
Yeah.
And they actually had a map where people could mark where human feces was on the sidewalks.
I think that was in San Francisco. But yeah, everything is definitely true. And like the homeless problem is absurdly unreal. And it's just crazy to think that California does, put away so much money for that. And then the homelessness problem is so massive because we live near Kansas City. So I've spent a decent amount of time in Kansas City. Kansas City is not even it's not even a tiny fraction of what California is. And Kansas City is like Kansas City, any city's like blue, and but California's extra bad.
Yeah, they're all blue. They're all Democrat. They're all.
But yeah, California. I don't even know how to go on that. But
just because I was asking about. So I think the immigration thing goes to the root of one of the most important parts of the Republican conservative platform, and that's law and order. That is safe cities, safe streets.
Yeah.
Right.
And then people interpret that as like living in a police state where it's just like showing presence.
Yeah, which is funny because I'm on the not opposite, but I'm less like I would never want to live anywhere where you can't commit crime and get away with it. I don't ever want to live somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Right? I raise my kids, I'm like free range chickens. We have almost no rules, right? Like, I will not put a rule in place on my kid that I can't enforce. So I never like tell them you can't do something that I'm not there to watch and make sure they can't do. I tell them I explain why they probably shouldn't do it. We have that conversation, but I'm not going to make it a rule not to because I'm not there to enforce it. And I don't want to create a situation where it leads to them lying, hiding, deceiving, and that kind of stuff, right? So I'm a little more, when it comes to rules and stuff, I'm pretty anti-rules. I'm pretty free range. I don't want to, I'm very much against the death penalty. I don't believe that cops should I think for most police this is true, but killing somebody should be your absolute last resort. And I think that is how cops view it personally.
I do too.
And I'm, just like with my Canadians and black people, I am friends with a few cops.
Fair enough. Actually, one of my personal training clients that I coached for about a year was a Canadian cop. I coached him online, so therefore, unfortunately,
was he a black Canadian cop?
Unfortunately, Remy was not black. Shout out to Remy if you're ever watching this. I think he would like this podcast, but no, he was not a black. But not a black cop. He was just Canadian.
Oh, okay. Just Canadian. Yeah.
And a police officer.
Or Canadians. You're just Canadians. But yeah, so that's how we got onto this. It was just like when I was hearing about how incredible Trump's poll numbers are on crime, it just made me start to wonder like how much of that stems from what he's doing in regards to the immigration policy, the enforcement at the border, getting the hardened criminals off of our streets, getting rid of them. I love that whatever his name is, Homer.
Tom Holman.
Holman. That dude's a baller, man.
Yeah, that dude is the man for the job. Like, damn.
Yeah.
He's probably the best piece of the Trump administration.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest with you.
I would have put him in Pete Hegseth's role. Just put him in charge of the U.S. military, then get out of the way. That dude, you'd have the whole world in line.
I was going to say, that dude could handle pretty much any task you throw at him.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen a guy who's so unafraid.
I mean, jeez.
But he knows his shit, too.
Oh, no. He's
crazy.
He's super intelligent, and he's like a raged pit bull.
Yeah, it's like the type of guy that, like, in a perfect world, like, maybe... like I wouldn't want to work for because he is such a hard ass.
Oh, hell no.
But like he's the guy I want for the job, bro. It's kind of like Donald Trump. I watched The Apprentice. I'm like, damn. I I don't know why these people actually want to work for Trump, because he's like the world's biggest hard ass, like even back in the day. But like, he's the guy you want for the job.
Yeah. I don't. I'm not up to snuff to work for the guy.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. Like, I don't want to be like up to snuff to work for someone. I want someone to be the best of the best. I think Tom Homan is incredibly impressive.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think him in general too also helps the border problem. Like, have him in charge.
Yeah, man. Just put his picture on posters and blanket the southern facing part of the wall with it.
Damn right. So I definitely appreciate that, and it's a pretty big contrast compared to what Biden did, and I think Biden did a lot wrong, and I think he did a lot wrong because
it wasn't Biden, right? Didn't he hire a border czar? And that 4 years later turned out not to be a border czar.
He hired a border czar, and then he hired one of those auto pens that just signed everything for him. So I guess he was on cruise control. But yeah,
I thought Kamala was the border czar.
Yeah, border
czar. She wasn't.
Border czar, no. I just think it's so funny, like looking back.
Did you know she's never been to Europe?
Yeah.
You know how we found out she's never been to Europe?
I'm guessing that one interview.
When they asked her if she'd been to the border. She goes, yeah, we've been to the border. No, have you been to the border? Well, I haven't been to Europe either.
Fact, she just dropped two and one right there.
Oh, that killed me. Yeah. That just killed me. I'm like, did you just become a politician yesterday? Is that what the problem is here?
Yeah, at least Joe Biden was once a competent
Joe Biden would have told you he went to the border wall and helped build the wall. Just as soon as he got done driving truck for the Puerto Rican family that raised him in the Jewish community that was...
At least Biden's a pretty good storyteller. You don't know what the hell he's talking about. No. He'll tell you anything, though.
Yeah, he'll tell you anything.
So I think Biden's situation was messy. I think a lot of it, whether or not he's really in charge, I think a lot of it is just because
we know he wasn't.
The progressive base of the Democrat Party is a pretty loud base, as we know, and so I think that's the reason why they couldn't be too aggressive on it. And I just thought it was so funny because like the whole time you're hearing that there's nothing more you can do, nothing more you can do, nothing more you can do.
Oh yeah, it was all up to Congress. It's all up to Congress. Congress is the only one that can do anything.
Yeah, and then towards the end, he did sign an executive order. I think that was like maybe before the summer debate. I don't know, somewhere around there. And
can you really call that a debate?
Yeah, no. And to some extent, that executive order helped, but it still wasn't like Trump would never approve of something like this. I think basically the executive order suspended asylum processing when over the course of like 7 days, the average, crossings exceeded 2,500 a day, which if you don't know is a lot. And then basically later on, they're talking about passing that border bill that that they all blame Trump for spiking, but the border bill was one of the craziest bad border bills I've ever seen, and there's a reason why Trump wanted to
get rid of it,
spike it. And I think it's funny because even when I'm asking ChatGPT, like they're saying one of Trump's top reasons for wanting to spike this border bill was so that he could run on the border, but like. That's not even why. The border bill is ridiculous. I think this is one of the worst things when it comes to the Biden administration and the border. Because first off, I forget what the hell the border bill is called. It was basically called the border bill. It's supposed to be bipartisan. And it's just ridiculous because within that border bill, let's see. So within that border bill, it's passing Congress approving the, they got the checkbook.
Yeah.
And in that, there's $20.2 billion that would have been funded towards the U.S. border security. But then there's also $60.8 billion to Ukraine, $14.1 billion to Israel, $4.8 billion to Indo-Pacific, and then $10 billion to global humanitarian aid.
Wait. So out of all the billions other than the border,
that's a whole lot. Like that's like just off the top of my head, like just under 20%. It's like 18% or something like that.
Yeah. So out of $100 billion.
It's over. I think it's over
110 billion. This is like the Build Back Better bill.
It's horrible. It's horrible. And that's not even the worst part of it. That's not even the worst part of it. I mean, that's pretty atrocious. And
was the 20 billion going to the border really for any border security, or was it to host border transgender plays?
Well, maybe a little bit of that. I think it's more so just like expand the asylum process to bring more people
in. Absolutely.
All these people crossing that really don't have a valid asylum claim. I'm not saying everybody, most. But the worst part is this part right here. it would allow up to 5,000 illegal crossings a day before triggering a shutdown. So it allows essentially almost 2 million crossings a year, which is just like the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And to put that in perspective, Trump last month had like 7,500 crossings for the whole month.
For the whole month.
Whole month. And this,
not 3 days worth.
And this border
not
bill,
1.5 days worth.
And this border bill that was supposed to help the border would allow that just about in one day.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be an improvement.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT and the Democratic Party was trying to tell me that like Trump was spiking it for his own personal gain. Is ridiculous.
Sure.
I think, and there's other problems with it too, because I think it would give like work permits to people who are migrating to the U.S., which also is an incentive to migrate to the U.S.
Yeah.
And so I think it's ridiculous, and I'm pretty sure $0 was going towards actually funding like a border wall, which to me, people talk about, oh, you can grab a ladder and stuff. Talk about like the easiest deterrent is just building a freaking wall. And
you can grab a ladder. Have they not seen the wall?
And that would stop.
The ladder ain't getting you over the wall.
A ladder would a wall, and this is me pulling some out of my ass, but 95% of people can't get over that. Like, let's just be honest. And so like, that's the easiest deterrent. And I forget exactly how much like the funding for the wall would be, but like it's compared to the billions of dollars that we're just talking about here and in general government, it's a relatively small fraction.
Anybody who claims walls don't work is a bold-faced liar.
Especially walls that are like 50 feet tall.
It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
You have a fence around your yard. Every decent community is gated. The frickin' Pope has a wall around the Vatican. The whole city. The Vatican City. There's a wall around it.
Yeah.
Walls. Like, I think
walls and wheels worked.
Walls have been in use before the wheel.
Probably, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
I think the first, I think it was prostitution and then a wall. Like that's
enough.
Right. Isn't prostitution the oldest profession? Right. And then somebody's like, I got to build a wall around all my prostitutes so the other people can't get to them. I think it went prostitutes and then a wall. And they've been used ever since.
It's the earliest discoveries of mankind.
Yeah, right there. And then fire, and then a wheel, and then sliced bread.
We had our priorities on straight.
And then Al Gore invented the internet.
And then the world went to shit.
The world went to shit.
So yeah, I think Biden was a mess. And
is it a total disaster?
Trump is pretty impressive. So I think that's one of the things I appreciate the most. And to me, it's not even like so much the immigration side of things. It's just like I appreciate someone who's just like going in and everything we just talked about to me is complete common sense. And
yeah, but okay. So I'll try and be serious for a second. So illegal immigration creates this absolute subclass of person in America. They don't have access to law enforcement. So many women, like the Maryland dad's spouse, right? For her to have even called is unique among the illegal immigrant population because they're terrified of law enforcement because they're illegal. Employers can do things to them and get away with it for the very same reason. So it's just strange to me. This party claims to be this party of caring and compassion and blah, all the rest of their bullshit. And you're literally creating a class of humans in America that are more easily harmed in every way and every level. And then I love the argument that they're contributing to the tax system and can't benefit from it. Like I can't tell you how many times on these left-wing talk shows they'll talk about in an attempt to refute that there's fraud in the Social Security system. Their argument is that the illegals are contributing to Social Security and can't even get it. And I'm like, your argument is that you're stealing money from people that are never going to be able to collect it? That's a good thing to you?
Yeah. That is a bizarre argument. I have heard that a lot.
And it gets way worse when you go down. I've been down to the border multiple times, down to Eagle Pass, Texas. we go down there. We provide meals to first responders, firefighters, police, the Border Patrol. I've spoken with the Border Patrol. One of the really interesting things, and it makes sense because not the Border Patrol, but the Border Patrol's down there as well, but National Guard. And I don't know why this caught me off guard because National Guards are comprised of the state in which they're based in, right? There was very few white guys in the National Guard down on the border. I honestly couldn't even tell you if I saw one. It was predominantly Hispanic and African American, and a significant number of women were in the National Guard down there when I was down there. And when you talk to them, and they tell you about the horror stories, they're like every week they watch a pregnant woman drown trying to cross the Rio Grande because they wait till they're in labor so they can get over here and have their baby. And after one of the Border Patrol who is trying to save one of the women drowned, they're no longer allowed to go out into the river to try and save them. They are literally just forced to stand there and watch. And then you see all the bags of the tampons, the Midol, the Tylenol, the bras, the panties, and the ID cards. There's thousands of Walmart bags, little plastic baggies. Every one of them with a panty, a bra, Midol, Tylenol, tampon, and a girl's ID card. Just littering our side of the Rio Grande. And it's like, it's blatant human trafficking. There's only one reason you're being forced to drop your identity, your ID card, and that's so when you get picked up by Border Patrol, they can't prove the guy you're with's not your dad.
Kind of like the Maryland man.
Exactly like the Maryland.
With his 8 people.
Exactly.
They didn't have any. I don't think they had any anything on them. I don't think they had identification or luggage or anything.
No. And so, and then they get here. They can't. They're scared to go to authorities. They get abused by employers. They pay into a system they can't benefit from. They're underpaid. They're underserved. They can't get providers on a regular basis for healthcare. I mean, it's just a horribly tragic disaster. And the Biden administration expanded it by millions of people.
Yeah, I do think...
And yet they're the compassionate party.
Yeah, well, I do think the progressive base, which, I don't know, 20, 30% of Democrat, I don't know. But it's a decent chunk. I think the progressive base of the Democrat Party disagrees with this argument about them being a subclass just because in their perfect world, everybody crossing the border is immediately an American citizen with equal rights. Obviously, to us, that sounds crazy, but to them, that's what they would ideally want. Like,
yeah,
they want this asylum claim.
So they would want them just to be able to cross the border, get ID cards, not have to worry about the police, be able to get normal wage, immediately go to work.
Yeah, have Social Security, and actually just basically be a citizen immediately.
Yeah,
I'm not saying all Democrats think that, but the progressive,
a portion of them, right? And do they ever think about what would happen if that was the case? I mean, like, you and I wouldn't care. We're not going to care. But what would happen to every job that pays $50,000 or less per year?
Yeah,
I'd go down to $10,000.
Yeah, because the unfortunate truth is, they're taking a lot of that low skill labor. And that can be like that. That doesn't mean like you're picking crops and stuff.
No, they'd be stealing our podcast jobs from us. This is pretty low skilled.
Yeah, I would say so. And so, well, exactly that. And
no, it's not that they're stealing jobs. It's just you're going to flood it with jobs. You're going to flood it with low skilled, untrained labor, which the more of something there is, the less value it has.
Between that and AI, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Regular people, at least.
Yeah, luckily I downloaded Babbel. I've been working on my Spanish.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Made a pro pretty soon here.
I'm prepared.
Fair enough. So immigration system pretty wild. I appreciate Trump doing what he's doing, and I do think he's putting a pretty big emphasis on trying to bring in the best of the best around the world. I know he's got like that gold card concept and H-1B visas he's still a fan of, and so trying to bring in people, but trying to bring in good people. Like, and that's not a dig at like a lot of these people that were crossing illegally, but
and I'm not even really a fan of that. I'm a big believer in the brain drain. Are you familiar with that concept?
a little bit.
Yeah, basically just the idea that by America allowing people to come here, whether or not they're the gold card people or the HB1 whatever visas,
H-1B.
or they're the unskilled labor, you're literally you're a sinkhole for the most motivated people within these other impoverished countries. And by giving them an escape route, you're alleviating them from having to stay in their own country and make their own country better.
Yeah, it's definitely an America first thing. It definitely doesn't help these other countries that are losing the talent.
Yes. And so,
which is why I think Trump is on board with it, because he's 100% America first.
Yeah, no, he is.
He wants the brain drain to,
Absolutely. Yeah, right. And so for me, it's like I'm a huge fan of immigration, especially due to the fact that white women in America don't want to have babies anymore, and we do not have a birth rate high enough to sustain ourselves without immigration. So I do understand that need for it. I do. My favorite cities in America are Vegas and New York, because they're the places that have the highest number of people from all over the world. And I just love those places. But at the same time, it's like I look at all these other countries that are out there, and it's like we need them to get better. We need the people that are motivated and intelligent and knowledgeable and capable to stay there and build those places up. So it's like, what do you do? It's my opinion on it all.
I agree. So whether or not that's ever something that Trump would even think about compromising on, I don't know.
No. He's not gonna.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and kind of move on to the next topic we got, which is this U.S. and China, the quote-unquote trade war that's going on.
Yeah, this shit's so awesome.
And
I love every time China gets stupid enough to buck up on us.
Yeah, there's a couple things in here that are...
It's like, how do they keep
funny.
doing this?
Yeah, and it's just funny. And so, as of now, we got 145% tariff on Chinese imports. They've got 125% tariff, retaliatory tariff on us. There are some goods that are exempted. I think China's got roughly $40 billion worth of U.S. imports that are being exempted. So things like pharmaceuticals, chips, some aircraft parts. But in reality, we're such a big trading partner with China that, a lot of the goods still are fully tariffed. But with China being more of the manufacturing country, exporting country, like they are taking a little bit bigger hit, it sounds like. Whereas
they're getting smashed.
Whereas the hit that we're taking would be, the increase in pricing, but
we can afford it.
But that doesn't really hurt our economy on a macro level nearly as much as like what it's.
Now, have you seen the riots going on in China?
I've heard of a few in like these cities that have manufacturing plants.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because one interesting thing about China is there's like their cities function almost as like mercantile districts. It's like everything of this particular type of product is all made inside of 100 kilometers of this one city for some reason, right? And it's like chip manufacturing or batteries, like lithium batteries. Literally, it's within a 100-kilometer circle, and I can't pronounce the name of the city. All lithium batteries are manufactured in China, in that one place. And so they have, and then I don't know, and like pork. Have you ever seen their giant, they just look like massive, apartment complexes that are just pork
really
production? Oh, it's crazy. Oh yeah, you gotta check this stuff out. They do it on such a massive scale. But yeah, they have people riding the streets because they're not being paid. They're being laid off without severance. They're getting hammered.
Yeah, I think the number that I've kind of singled down to as far as like job losses, I think about 10 million jobs are at risk.
Yeah, and I've seen numbers. I've seen it from 11 to 16 million already.
Yeah, I've seen 16. I think that number comes from a Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, yep. Goldman Sachs was reporting pretty accurate. 16 million.
And I think that's just like kind of the further impact it has. I think the 10 million is more of a conservative amount, just like as far as like actual direct manufacturing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard anywhere from like 9 to 16 million.
And I know 16 million sounds like a lot, but that's like 2 blocks of General Chung Pao's chicken.
Yeah, it ain't even that much. I mean
it's a very tiny.
It is a lot. I think that's like roughly like 2% of the workforce, which when you think about it, when it's so centralized into one like industry,
yes,
pretty massive.
Yeah,
would be pretty huge. And so it'll be interesting to see like how talks play out. I do think a trade deal will probably be made probably by end of the year. We'll see. That's what the.
Are you thinking the date till the end of the year?
No, not going to need to take it by end of the year, but I'm saying like for sure by end of the year.
Oh, it'll be done in a month.
Maybe.
I give it 1 month.
Maybe. I think some of the trade deals take a little bit longer than like they might be like in talks.
Record this so you can make fun of me in a month when I'm wrong.
Yeah, a month might be pushing it, but I think the betting odds have it pretty likely by end of July. In fact, I can pull the betting odds now. I always like to check out Polymarket quite a bit because for the most part they got pretty good insights on how people are seeing things. But I say end of year is a conservative estimate, but in reality, end of year is actually a very short timeline.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion,
there's no way it's taken to the end of the year.
Here, let's
China can't survive that.
Let's go ahead and look up what. So, because you say next month, according to Polymarket, so this is for before June, so into this month. So that's 3/4 of a month. It's saying 20% chance. Let's see if they've got other dates on here.
Crap! It's I'm gonna have to run. My car's ready. It's 6:15. They texted me 5:46. I got to run across the street and see if I can get my car. I have no way to get home.
It's fair enough.
1 second.
All right. We'll go ahead and pause it here.
All right. Where were we before I so unceremoniously bailed? Luckily, they were 6:15. They were still there. They said they left at 6, but they were hanging around waiting for me.
Shop.
Yeah,
Nice.
For some reason, he said their phone wouldn't let them call out to me.
Well, luckily you got your car, so
yeah, I can get home.
Not having to Uber home today.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah,
and it's a good quality Ford.
Damn good American right here.
Yeah,
damn right. That's how we do it here.
That's right.
So yeah, just talking about China. For exactly what we did on, but kind of
China and the trade deal, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of just talking about how China's likely taking the bigger hit. I mean, that 10 million job, and that's a conservative number, the 10 million jobs, that's a pretty massive hit. 10 million is a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure, let's see, I think that puts it at 1.3. Like, if we're using a 10 million number, that'd be 1.3% of their entire workforce, which is a massive amount considering that's specifically like manufacturing and their export economy.
Yep.
And so, I mean, that's 1.3% of their labor force is just out of a job, which is pretty massive. And then another statistic that I thought was pretty interesting is the PMI, so it's Purchasing Managers Index, which is kind of a gauge into the well-being of the manufacturing services sectors. And so this metric is based off the number 50. So anything above 50 means growth. Anything less than 50 is, shrinkage. It's a contraction. And so it fell to 49 in April, which isn't crazy, but that is the lowest since December of 2023. And so that's just at the start of this. I mean, the tariffs are just getting started. So I'd be curious to see where the index goes from here, see if it continues to slide. Definitely wouldn't be a good thing for China if that stayed under 50 for an extended period of time. And then there's some other statistics in here that aren't necessarily good for China, but admittedly, like there's statistics for us that on paper don't sound so good. Like I know their GDP growth for the first quarter of this year. Granted, that's really without the tariffs, to be honest. But their GDP growth was less than what it was this time last year.
China's.
Yeah, but we got the same problem. We in the first quarter of this year we had a negative GDP growth rate.
Yeah, what numbers are you getting
for China?
Yeah,
so I'm seeing Q1 at 4.7%.
Yeah,
and then that's compared to 5.3 in 2024.
Yeah,
obviously China is
now
relatively a developing country.
And full of shit.
And their growth rates.
So a lot of independent analysts estimate that to actually be
negative,
under 3 and as low as 2%.
Yeah. I definitely would probably believe that number more than an official number.
Yeah. So because there's a property sector crisis, they're experiencing deflation, they have weak domestic consumption, and then the tariffs and the global supply chain disruptions are compounding everything.
Yeah, that'd be something I'd like to just research all on its own. Because you gotta get past a lot of potentially false information being published.
Yeah,
because that growth rate does seem high. So we'll see. I'd be curious to know how accurate the 2024 number was at 5.3%.
Well, you can look at things that their government does, right? Like what's it saying? Ignore what people say and just focus on what they do, right? And so China's, they did interest rate cuts, they eased bank reserve requirements. Right, so they're taking legitimate economic steps to try and boost their economy,
stimulate their economy.
Yeah,
and we're not quite there yet. We still need Trump's still waiting for Powell to drop the rates here.
Yeah,
not sure when that's going to happen.
Yeah. And so because they're just as we're having a housing problem with high interest rates, they are as well. They're having it for different reasons, though. So just interesting. They have people abandoning building projects. Their home prices are falling. Reports indicate significant drops of home prices up to 30 to 40% in some major cities, and a surge in abandoned housing projects as developers struggle to complete construction, and mortgage delinquencies are also rising sharply.
Yeah, China's economy is something that we could do probably 10 podcasts on because there's a lot to it. It sounds a little messy. So,
yeah, and all this is gonna and I don't think, and I think people talk about how that these problems as they develop, they get to the point to where it's pretty difficult to fix them, and in an economy like China's, I believe that they can't afford to let those problems get out of hand.
Yeah, and then kind of getting back to the U.S.-China deal. So the U.S. accounts for 11% of China's exports, which pretty big chunk, to be honest. And so with all these tariffs, I think they are trying to diversify. Specifically like locally in the region, so those Southeast Asian countries, so Indonesia, Malaysia. I don't know if
you just make up some words. We wouldn't know if you were naming real places.
Exactly.
Or not.
I don't even know if you take all those combined and multiply them by 10 if they'd even match up to the U.S.
No, not
economy. So
I'm surprised we're only 11%.
Yeah, I know. A lot of China does make some cheap stuff, so I think a lot of people are, interested in China. Let's see. I will look it up right now. See what the other country. I do think we are the largest.
Oh, we've got to be.
Yeah. Let's see.
I know it's not Canada. Although maybe that's where Canada gets all their Canadian bacon from.
Canada does a lot of trade with China, but for them it's a lot.
Yeah.
For China, it's not so much.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I will say ChatGPT, it's frustrating. I'll eventually get to the right answer, but I always got to dig 5 different times.
Yeah. Oh no, you do. You gotta.
That's my biggest gripe about ChatGPT. It's great, but I end up spinning much longer than I need to. So let's see here. And this answer's no good. It's giving me.
Well, let's make fun of ChatGPT for a second. What's the answer it gave you?
Oh, it's just giving me like instead of giving me like the actual like percentage, it's like, oh, this country accounts for 15%, this is 10, blah blah. Which is what like really asking clearly. It's giving me like how much it's grown year over year for each of these countries. I'm like, I mean, that's fine. I'm sure that's good information for someone, but that's not at all what I'm like asking for.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to go to Perplexity.
And then also my ChatGPT has been so slow, man. And I'm on the plus version, like the $20 a month version. Man, I thought it'd be a little faster and accurate. Would have been nice.
Okay, so ASEAN.
That's the Southeast Asian nations.
Is 15.9% of their trade. EU is 12.8, US is 11.2, South Korea is 5.3, Japan is 5.
Japan, Taiwan, Russia.
But the top export destinations is the US by 14.7, Hong Kong by 8.1, Vietnam by 4.5, Japan by 4.3, South Korea by 4.1.
That just goes to show how big our deficit is. Since we're like, it sounds like we're,
because our trade partners by share of total trade, that's exports plus imports.
Yeah, so how much they're taking into?
Puts us at 3.
But so just exports we're taking in the most.
Yes.
That's unsurprising.
That's fucked up.
That's unsurprising. So so in reality, this 11% figure that I'm getting here is actually not the full picture. You said what, 14% for like their total for exports? What number did you get for like as far as like what percent?
Oh shit! I went off of it.
I think it was like 14.3 or something, somewhere in the 14s. I think. That's unsurprising though.
Where's
Which I mean, that's even a bigger hit to China in that case.
Yeah. So the U.S. export wise is 14.7%.
Yeah, it's quite a bit
of their exports. That's 2024.
Yeah, I'm getting the same number, 14.7.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, if multiple AI models give us the same information, it must be right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do actually. Because like I'll build like the research I do for these podcasts. It's a combination of using different like news outlets and also AI softwares, and I gathered together all this information from all these sources. So I already cross-reference it, but then I, will take my whole set of notes. So it's like several pages long. I'll upload a ChatGPT, ask it to, check for accuracy.
Yeah.
And I'll get ChatGPT's, like, it'll correct anything that's wrong, which is really not that much. Then I'll take that and I'll upload it to Grok and be like, hey, this is what ChatGPT just told me is like the most accurate form of my notes. And so I'll go back and forth until I get something that's like very objective and based purely on reality, because that's the last thing I
bet you if you do that too many times, Grok is going to write like some kind of sub program and implant it into the back of ChatGPT and take over ChatGPT.
That'd be fine with me.
That seems like something Grok would do.
Right now, Grok is smarter than ChatGPT. I'll give it that. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, that's because he has Elon behind him.
Yeah, I will say
when you have the smartest human that's ever lived.
Like my issue with ChatGPT is I get like wrong answers pretty often. My issue with Grok is that the answers are great. They're just so damn long. Even when I tell it, I'll ask it a question. I'll be like, all right, tell me as concisely as you can. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
Like, dumb this down for Elliot.
And then it'll still give me like an answer that's like, I don't know, 2,000 words long.
Yeah, you need a PhD for.
And, it's just like the length of it, dude. That gives me, like, it takes me like 20 minutes to read an answer. Let's see here. I think some other stuff. So shipments, at the Port of Los Angeles, though, shipments have dropped by 35% by late April 2025. So that's actually pretty useful information because, the tariffs are somewhat in place during that month. So it's interesting to see that it's dropping really that much. But, it's really from China. And then, we are diversifying from away from China. Even in the last year, even in 2024, we were getting a larger portion of imports from Vietnam and India, and I think obviously that will continue to grow up because I think India is really the country that's likely to have probably the first trade deal done. And I'm basing that off of poly market betting odds and just news that we've seen. So
anybody that's ever done business in India knows that's not going to happen.
Why not?
Oh my goodness, this is just the culture.
India does have a unique culture.
Yeah.
But
one of the greatest business stories of all time is Marriott trying to build their first hotel there.
Well, maybe not building stuff there is the best idea, but I will say I do notice a decent amount of stuff that I buy and just random stuff is made in India.
Yeah. No,
It's kind of starting to turn into made in China at this point. Like I see India quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean they're wildly productive. It's just on their time and their ways.
Yeah, sounds like they're doing a pretty good job though.
No, they are.
And then back to the U.S. economy, like there's still a chance of a recession in 2025.
There's no chance for a recession.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Goldman Sachs has it at 45%, and that's fine. I've never heard of this, but Apollo Global had it at 90% prediction, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I think there's a combination of factors that even allowed us to have a negative growth rate in the first quarter. And I think the biggest culprit is just the amount of imports that we had ahead of the tariffs, and then also the fact that we cut so much government spending, like we've talked about. Those two things combined is what really even caused us to have negative growth rate, and our growth rate was barely negative. Yeah, if I was a betting man, I would bet against that and say no recession in 2025, and then try to get rich off that personally.
Yeah, there's not a chance in hell of a recession occurring.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that is really worthwhile. Oh, one thing that I think is like funny is we've been like the media's messing Trump quite a bit. They're always in the White House asking about the tariffs. Like, hey, do you think you're going to drop the tariffs on China? Where are we at in the negotiations? Blah, blah, blah. And, Trump doesn't really give off too much information. And I really don't think there's a whole lot there. But what I do think is funny is China's Commerce Ministry talking about how they're open to like trade talks and trade negotiations, but they want us to drop our tariffs.
Yeah.
Like, you drop your tariffs and we'll negotiate. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not a negotiation.
Like, how is that negotiated if we're already caving in completely? And then so that makes no sense. Even if we dropped it but I think they really want.
No, I love. Did you? Okay, not on China, but did you see in the? And I guess we're going to get to Canada in a second. Okay, never mind. I'm going to hold off on that one. But there's Trump. I couldn't believe what Trump said in that meeting with Carney.
Yeah, so I guess we'll get to that here in a second, but otherwise, I think, like I said, I think China's more at risk here. I think we have a pretty good ability to diversify our trading partners, and like I said, India's a big one, Vietnam's a big one, and then countries like Mexico and Canada, even though we do have tariffs on them as well, I think pretty soon we should trade deal with those two as well, and we really trade with them.
Well, I got a question for you, right? So in Trump's last term, he did away with NAFTA and put in place the MCU, the Marvel Comic Universe, the MCA, the whatever that trade agreement was. So if he's the one that put that trade package into place, why did he not like it so much, and why did he come in and upend it all?
Well, it's we could look into that.
I know. I mean, I have my own theories, my own ideas, right?
What are your
I'm
ideas?
just curious as if you've thought about that or anything about it, or
what's your own idea?
Well, I just think that Trump's first term, like you only have so much political capital to go around, right? And I just think that trying to get things done in regards to tax breaks and trying to undo the Affordable Care Act and just all the other stuff, like, and then he only had so much behind him, and so you're going to take any good trader, any good business person gets what they can get when they can get it, and I haven't heard this anywhere. I don't know if I'm completely out in left field or not, but I just feel like coming into this election, or after the election, right, where he won the popular vote for the first time, unless you were to go back and look at the real numbers from 2020. But he won the popular vote. He won every swing state. He's got the House. He's got the Senate. He's got the Supreme Court. And so now I think it's like anything he wants to do, he's going after. And to me, that's why. Like, it's just that simple. It's like now it's like he's free to just do what he's always wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm looking at it right now, just ChatGPT and Grok, and it's exactly what I thought, basically, like the political capital side of things.
Okay.
Like, only so much you can really do. And because, yeah, that's another thing I do here. It's like liberal media will talk about, well, he's the one who made the trade deal. It's like, what?
They make fun of him for making a trade deal, and then, like he's some kind of moron. I'm like, really? Like, you guys can't figure this out?
But he wanted more, but he just, like,
I mean, I barely survived 4 days of junior college, and I could understand it.
Yeah, basically, it just like wasn't practical, and so that's why he's doing what he's doing now.
Yeah. Sweet.
So,
all right,
that's pretty much all I got there. And then moving on to
let's beat up on
Canada. So,
Canada,
the newly elected Mark Carney was in the White House yesterday, and he just won one election last week.
Thanks to Trump. He owes Trump that election.
He does owe Trump. I think that's why they're pretty cordial, even though they didn't really compromise either of them. But
no, I loved how Trump opened up the whole meeting with, "Is there anything that Canada could do to get rid of these tariffs?" No.
So I actually appreciate that, because in reality the answer is yes. But
of course it is.
But like you,
or you wouldn't be there talking.
But this is what I like about Trump, and this is why the media hates Trump, because they talk about how he doesn't know what he's doing. He's always changing his mind, blah, blah, blah. What they don't realize is the obvious fact that, like, he's just, like, standing firm, because that's part of the negotiation.
Oh, they realize
and
it.
So, yeah. But
they just think all their listeners are too stupid to realize
Yeah.
it.
Because, like, obviously he's going to say no.
Yeah.
Because if he starts saying yes, they can do that.
Yeah, then he puts him in a weak position.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's what I appreciate about Trump is, like, it's like the strength of Trump. And,
no, like it's like when your wife asks you to do something around the house. Your first answer has to be, "Heck no, I'm not doing that. I'm a man." And then I'm kidding. That doesn't work.
Yeah, you can try it, but
try it.
Not sure if that will work.
I'm not going to recommend it.
Maybe a little different than Donald Trump. So yeah, they met yesterday in the Oval Office. I think they had lunch afterwards, but the actual like televised event was basically them talking, and then also media just asking some questions. And like I said, they're pretty friendly, like the whole time, smiling, having fun, but not really making compromises. Like Trump, again, bringing up the whole 51st state idea, and Mark Carney was very strong against that, even though they were cordial.
I mean, that's some funny shit.
It is funny. And then Trump.
Did you see, is it Alberta?
Yeah.
One of the people there?
One of the provinces.
Yeah, and then they put a bill forward to become a 51st state.
I know there's a lot of talk about it, but
I'm pretty sure there's like a whatever they call it in Canada.
That's on the poly market betting odds. That's one of the things you can bet on. Is, let's see, I'd have to find it, but it's on here. It's like chances of Alberta becoming a 51st state by end of the year, and the odds aren't super high, admittedly, but it's on the radar. So there's that. But yeah, in the meeting with Mark Carney, though, like Trump's literally talking about the border between the U.S. and Canada. He's saying that somebody just grabbed a ruler and just drew a straight line in between the two. And he's talking about how beautiful the U.S. would look if it was, the combination of U.S. and Canada.
Okay, and here it is. Just clarify this. So Alberta is not before the bill to become a state of the United States. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith has announced the province will facilitate a referendum on separation from Canada in 2026.
Okay.
If a citizen-led petition gathers enough signatures. The Bill 54 lowers the threshold for triggering a referendum, but does not specify joining the U.S. It simply allows Albertans to vote on whether to separate from Canada if enough public support is demonstrated.
And they would.
Well, yeah, you're not going to just become Alberta.
So here's the betting odds. Will Alberta vote for independence in 2025? And the odds have actually dropped, but it's probably because something like that where they're announcing, hey, this is going to happen in 2026.
Yes.
Because at one point back in just like end of April, so April 30th, it was up to 26% chance, and now it's down to like below around a 5% chance. But it's probably really more so because of that. They come out saying that it's going to wait till 2026.
Yeah. And so Albertans, they're heavy oil and gas.
Yeah.
And
they're conservative.
Yeah, and they're very conservative versus the rest of Canada. So
that'd be a good pickup, but we'll see if that ever happens. But
yeah. Hey, everybody in Alberta, if there's 1 or 0.001 of you listening to our,
we'll take you in
drivel.
Here.
Yeah. We'd love to have you. Welcome to America.
Yeah, hopefully one day. That would be kind of an interesting look on the map, though, because Alberta, it just maybe the map wouldn't look as pretty.
Alaska's not really attached.
Yeah, but Alberta would be attached. It's just like it'd be like a big old. Like, I don't even know what you call it. Big old.
Hey, it would just be the start. It'd just be the start. You know, eventually they'd all tumble.
Give us
except for Quebec. We can leave the French-speaking Canadians.
Yeah, they can just do their own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be interesting. And then one thing that they did discuss, but not deeply, but is the whole thing about Trump talking about how we basically protect them with our military.
Yeah.
They actually did bring that up. He said that, and Canada's not paying enough, but he said, we're going to protect you anyways. So nice there, but that's something we talked about last week. And it is true that Canada is not paying their fair share, and they're instead wasting their tax dollars on stuff that really they shouldn't be able to afford, which is my biggest issue with Canada. I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It's the family member you loan money to, and then they show up with a new tattoo or they go on vacation. Like, wait a minute, why did I loan you money to cover your rent?
And so one thing that frustrates me, and there's some validity to the fact check, but not so much, is that like Trump always throws around the number of $200 billion that we're subsidizing Canada. But to some extent, like part of it is true because Canada cannot defend themselves. And even if they did put up the 2% like they're supposed to for NATO, like they're not actually defending themselves. Like we're still doing it. They're just paying their fair share.
Yeah.
But they really can't. They're underfunding the military by like, I don't know, $15 billion. And if anything were to ever happen, like it's us protecting them.
Of course it is.
And so that's part of the factor. What's like when Trump says that we're subsidizing Canada, that's part of what he's talking about. And it just like frustrates me when people say that the U.S. is not at all subsidizing Canada, because we are. And then I think another factor that plays into the $200 billion number is just the deficit that we have with Canada. But obviously, that isn't really a subsidy. But, I think they're missing the point, though. Whenever, like
Trump doesn't use terms like subsidy in the technical, like factual usage of them.
Yeah. Oh,
he uses the term in a bigger blanket statement of creating a narrative.
I do think a little bit of it is a subsidy, like the military. But yeah, the trade deficit definitely not. But like the military. I mean, maybe not $200 billion, but to a certain extent, we're definitely basically funding their military.
Yeah,
because like Canada,
well, we are their military.
Oh, exactly.
What's their military going to do?
Yeah, nothing. Their military budget's like $30 billion, ours like almost a trillion, 900 billion. So we're protecting them, and they live right next to us. They get the safest protection possible.
Yeah,
and so we are subsidizing billions of dollars a year.
They're not like Mexico, who if you invaded them, you're going to run into all the cartels. What are you going to do? Run into the Mounties?
Not as scary of a country.
They're going to yell at you for littering?
Yeah, but what the hell do I know? But so there is...
I don't know. I think they have a couple hockey teams that would make a formidable adversary.
That's fair.
Yeah. Those guys.
They can fuck you up.
Yeah. Especially if there was ice.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah.
They put you out on an ice rink.
Yeah.
Let's see. So there's tariffs between the two right now. Not nearly as crazy as China, 145, 125, but the 25% tariffs, and that's not even on everything, but it's on most things. Like the U.S. has a 25% tariff on most things other than the the energy. So the energy, like oil, gas, electricity, we got at 10%. But I think Mark Carney would like to have that at 0%. And then Canada kind of did their own thing, 25% on us. It is what it is. It's kind of goofy hearing Canada trying to be so strong. I know Mark Carney is taking the stance that not backing down on tariffs and holding that in place. And
well, don't you think he thinks he was elected for that reason?
yeah, I don't really know where their leverage is though.
So what do you think is gonna happen to him when the cold hard facts hit him? And he realized he has no leverage.
I'll be curious to see what kind of trade deal they are going to come to a trade deal though.
They have to.
I guarantee that.
So they're going to come to a trade deal. It's going to be lopsided. It's going to be everything Trump wants.
I think if Trump
and the whole reason that guy got elected is going to be off the table. What's going to happen to his career?
Yeah, be the next Trudeau. But I think ultimately, but Trump's not going to do this just because it's too harsh.
Yeah, but go ahead.
I was going to say it's probably too harsh, but I think Trump even has more leverage in the fact that not only can we absorb the hit much better because we're such a bigger country, but also we have leverage completely on the fact that we do defend them 100%. It comes back to the defense. It's like
yeah, he has leverage. I mean, because we have to do that no matter what.
I mean,
it's not like they could do anything that would ever stop us from defending them. But we're not going to let anybody invade our northern area, right?
You would think so. But I mean, it's still leverage in the fact
it's like a freebie.
Well, exactly. It's leverage in the fact that we are giving you that freebie.
Yeah.
And then you're still going to
but they know they're going to get it no matter what they do.
Yeah. It's the sad truth.
Yeah. All right, so I got a question for you. Did Trudeau, after he stepped down, did he move back home to be around all of his uncles and stuff?
Fuck if I know.
Down in Cuba? Wasn't his dad Fidel?
Could have been. I have no idea. Where's this coming from? Is that?
Does you never seen any of that?
No.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, man. His mom was a total basket case. I mean, an absolute basket case, and was in love with Fidel. And there's pictures of her holding him as a baby with Fidel. Fidel came to his dad's funeral, which is really wild.
That is weird. That's definitely weird.
And he looks like him. You didn't know that Trudeau was Fidel's love child?
I don't know. What? No.
You see it? Did you Google it?
I'm Googling.
Google it, man. This is good shit.
I just want to hear what the rumor is.
Yeah. I think Fidel's got to go back to Cuba with Ileon Gonzalez. I think Fidel and Ileon Gonzalez are hanging out in Cuba right now, eating some empanadas.
That's funny. It's an interesting conspiracy theory.
Do you see the pictures?
I'll have to pull up I was reading
where the
conspiracy starts from.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to look up the actual photos. Let's see.
Yeah, it's good shit, man. Yeah, but his mom was a lunatic, just completely unchemically balanced and whatnot, which explains a lot.
Yeah, they do look pretty similar.
Right?
I can definitely see it.
Yeah.
Because they also have photos of him.
Yeah.
Both much younger ages.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
But he's just that. Fidel Castro is just a Cuban version of
exactly
Trudeau.
Exactly. It's good shit, isn't it?
Interesting.
No wonder he's a communist. It's in his blood.
No wonder. That situation with Trudeau was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Like they resigned and his approval numbers so horrible, and the fact that his party still won is pretty crazy.
Well, yep. Good old Trump.
Good old Trump and good old. I think Canada's got their own media issue. So because I was watching that the Mark Carney and Trump thing yesterday. And for whatever reason, I'm watching it on CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting, whatever. It's their public,
Yeah, it's their version of
it's like the publicly
PBS or NPR or whatever bullshit.
And so it's like,
thank goodness we're getting rid of that.
I'm pretty sure that's like, I could be wrong. It might not be fully government funded, but it is like heavily government funded, like taxpayer funded. And it's just interesting. One thing that's interesting is that on all their videos, they always turn off the comments. So you can't actually have like a dialogue. So that's messed up right there. I think it's horrible. They need to change that right now. But secondly, it was just funny because like the analysts or whatever you call the people that are talking before and after are extremely biased against Trump. Extremely biased. I was like, wow. Like I get it. But I was just surprised by how they were letting like so much emotion and like so much opinion get into that. I was like, this is pretty crazy for any news outlet. Like if you try to be like,
they were like the Canadian MSNBC instead of BBC.
Well, exactly. Because like, if it was like, exactly. If it was MSNBC or something, like that'd be typical.
Yeah, you get it.
But that's kind of how
government sponsored.
Yeah, and that's how they're acting. I was like, no wonder they're so liberal.
Yeah.
This is CBC, and they're acting like this.
Yeah.
And I've watched CBC before because like, I know last week we were talking about Canada a little bit, and so like I was like looking into that. I think that's something we talked about, and then it's just funny that like I watched some of their videos last week, and that's when I found out they do block all their comments, and they definitely do lean left. But then it was just funny because yesterday.
I think blocking all your comments is about the most left wing thing you can do.
Well, you can definitely, exactly. And so, but then it just surprised me that like I was watching on that stream, and they're super left, dude. Like really far left, and like just like anti-Trump, and that it caught me off guard a little bit. But now I can more easily see why they are so left because that's their government funded news outlet, and it's pretty biased.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got a question for you. So these are the 3 topics we were going to cover, but there's 2 that I really want to cover. One, your racist need for protein.
Yeah.
I've heard
racist. So
I've heard that you look like a racist protein bro, a MAGA protein bro. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is I was listening to so we're cutting like the National Arts Endowment and whatever that's called. Like they've shut down a lot of these grants to these, and they're trying to go after PBS's. 15% of the funding to PBS comes from the federal government.
Yeah,
and so this one I thought was really interesting, right? So they got this, I don't know, some person in charge of some community theater in some town that they just found out that their grant for $25,000 for them to put on a play is being pulled. And they had just at the beginning of the year gotten a letter, or the end of last year, gotten a letter letting them know they had won the grant. They're going to receive $25,000. And the play is about a person that is influential in Black history in America. And their takeaway from it, all their language around this, is that you cannot stop the arts. The arts are the people. And everybody's always trying to shut us down and stop our voice. And we're like water. We will always flow, whatever. I mean, and I'm just going, no one's trying to stop you from putting your play on. Oh, and they also used really interesting language. They said that the money was validation. Winning the grant and getting the money was validation. And I'm just sitting here, and it just really highlighted the difference to me between a conservative mindset and a liberal mindset. Getting the government to fund your bullshit play, that's validation to you? To me, validation is I put on a play, I market it, I open up my doors, and my community comes out and pays to see my play. That's validation.
Yeah.
Like people like what I'm doing enough to take money out of their pocket and give it to me for me to do something. That's validation. There is no validation in the fact that I filled out some forms and jumped through some government hoops and got some faceless bureaucrat somewhere to stroke me a check of $25,000 of somebody else's money that was stolen from them under the guise of some other bullshit and sent over to you to do your play. Like, it's not an indictment on your play. It's not saying that the black person that you're doing the play about isn't worth a play being done about or should be. Nobody's saying they should be struck from the history books or we shouldn't be taught about them or any of that kind of stuff. It's just, why the fuck is it the government's job to pay you to put it on?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's stop funding. It's not stupid stuff, but let's stop funding useless stuff. Like for us.
No. And it's not useless. It's not stupid, right? And then I shouldn't have said bullshit play. It's none of those things. But it's not the government's job
exactly
to take money from one person and give it to you. If your community values it, your community will pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Therefore, I think it's useless. Useless for taxpayer dollars.
Useless for there you go. I agree with that statement. It's useless for taxpayer. It should not be something taxpayer dollars are spent on. I don't know why taxpayer dollars are going to support PBS or NPR. I got news for you. If you think it's of value, give them your money.
Yeah. It's just no need to be paying. I don't care if it's small dollar amount, big dollar amount, blah, 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 whatever. Like when you're like $36 trillion in debt, like let's cut out every single dollar we can cut out. And like, it's like useless stuff like that. I call it useless.
Dude, speaking of which, did you see, this is insane to me. They're proposing cutting our deficit by 1%. They want to make a goal to cut our deficit by 1% per year. How many percentage points are in the number 100? If we were to get rid of 100% of
better
our deficit.
than adding to it.
Hang on. If we're going to get rid of 100% of our deficit and we get rid of 1% per year, this is really difficult math for you. How many years is it going to take for that proposal to get to where we don't have a deficit anymore?
Hopefully it's 1% of this year, and then from there it's the same based off the same original number, not like 1% each year. But yeah, 100 years.
It's 100 years. The proposal is to over the next 100 years.
I'll take that over adding $2 trillion this year alone. That's like.
Do you have any idea what 5%. Our debt's going to be in 100 years? Cutting 1% of the deficit, not 1% of the budget.
Oh,
not 1% of the budget. 1% of the deficit. So we're going to run 99% of our deficit next year, and 98% of the deficit the year to that. 90. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, take a little while. Yeah.
So 100 years from now, we could possibly be at a balanced budget. Who elects these people?
Yeah, that's definitely not a fast process. But I guess what else do you expect?
Elon's going to have us on Mars.
Oh, we'll be on Mars. Then we want to worry about this shit.
Before we have a balanced budget.
They have in their own countries out there.
All right. Well, and the next time we're going to talk about you and your sick, twisted, racist, sexist, homophobic addiction to protein.
Yep. Turns me into a bad person, apparently.
Yes. And green lawns. Did you know that? Green lawns are also racist.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Not surprising, but yeah.
Yeah, it harkens back to the plantation days. That's what the left says.
Of course.
So if you have muscles and a green lawn,
it ain't looking too good for you.
No, it ain't. So, all right. Well, that's I can't wait to get to hear all about the MAGA protein pandemic next time we talk. Yeah. All right. This is Elliot.
Nathaniel.
Nope, not Nathaniel. This is Elliot.
I ain't saying it.
This is Elliot and Nady B.
I ain't saying that shit. Maybe later on. I'll stick to my name for now.
All right. See you guys.